Welcome to the Planning and Land Use Management Committee, the Edward R. Roybal Public Hearing Room. Been joined by my colleague, Councilmember Jose Rizar. And we don't expect Councilmember Jack Wise to be joining us today. We have a few items on the agenda today, and actually quite a few cards, which is great. It's good to see democracy and civic participation in all its we do have several items that we could have gone through, but we do have cards on each one, so we're going to have to call each one special. My understanding is item number 1, we still want to wait a few minutes. Is that true? Yes? So we'll hold item 1 on the table. Please let the clerk know when you are ready. Number 2, there's quite a few cards on that, so we're going to just hold on for a second and we'll jump to items 3A and 3B. And what I'm trying to do is move the items that allows folks to get through this process as quick as possible. Okay. Para personas que necesitan aparatos para traducir, tenemos aparatos para ustedes. Si pueden levantar el mano para que podamos saber cuáles personas necesitan el equipaje para traducir. What I just said is the folks who would like translation devices, please raise your hand. We have them for you. ¿Hay personas que les hacen falta el aparato para traducir? Los tenemos, si nos citan, está bien. Okay. Well, look at it. Everyone get a translation device? Okay, where can they receive the translation? Who has the translation devices? Okay, so la señora que tiene su mano, necesitan uno, por favor, levantar la mano. No es necesario, entonces. Okay. ¿Sí hay personas? Okay. Okay. We have more cards for number 3. It's getting more complicated. All right. Well, let's start with item number 3. If we could have the staff please come forward. Can we increase the volume on that mic?
Good afternoon.
Great.
There we go. Works better on. Good afternoon, committee members. Frank Kwan with the City Planning Department. I was a hearing officer for case, the item number 3 case today, CPC 2006-5401. The case comes back to the Plum Committee from a previously scheduled meeting of October 21st. The reason why it's returning is because inadvertently there was an appeal filed on this case that was lost in transition. So we located the appeal paperwork and we're now back before the Plum Committee to hear this case. It was a batching case that was approved partially by the Planning Commission, and staff recommends that we approve the Commission recommendation and deny the appeal. And if there are any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Okay. Have you covered 3A and 3B?
Yes, that would be 3A and B. 3A is recommended for approval, and 3B, the appeal, is recommended for denial.
Okay, can we have the appellants come to the microphone, please?
Good afternoon, Councilman. My name is Jim Brewer. I represent Spiegel Development. This project started its entitlement process about 3 years ago.
Would you mind putting the microphone or getting the microphone closer to you so we can hear you better?
I'm sorry?
Can you bring the microphone closer to you so we can hear you better?
Is that better? Okay.
Yes.
Again, I'm Jim Brewer, representing Spiegel Development. Our address is 22801 Ventura Boulevard, Suite 111 in Woodland Hills. This property was acquired several years ago, and it was acquired because it was a site that was proximate to the Golden State Freeway for easy access, and at the same time, it was on a piece of property that was vacant and was non-conforming in its zoning. Basically, the whole area around it was zoned either manufacturing or commercial, and only this property and a mobile home park next to it were on the non-conforming piece. Basically, we presented the project 2 times to the neighbors, and we've, after straightening out some misunderstandings, the neighbors are supportive of the development. We've presented the project 2 different times to the neighborhood council, and the neighborhood council, in its letter approving the project subject to conditions, we've met all the conditions in reducing density and using landscape as they asked, and also using a grass pave in a driveway area to help with our water percolation. We've met with the council office on several occasions, and the council office has asked us to also reduce density and enlarge the common area, including a pool and a barbecue area, which we've done. And we've also amended our application to reflect the reduction of the project in density that started with 32, went down to 30, now it's down to 26 units. We've dispersed our density into 10 smaller buildings, 6 triplexes and 4 duplexes, to create a more detached home village environment. And the enlarged common area has the larger pool and the barbecue picnic area. We also have room for a tot lot and a dog exercise run. We've enlarged our landscaping along the perimeters, and at the same time we've entered into a Caltrans agreement granting them an easement for drainage, which is for the benefit of the rear of this property, and it also provides sound walls that they're constructing starting next year as part of a freeway widening project, and the walls will be 14 to 16 feet in height. We think that all these things are for the benefit and betterment of the project, and we ask for your support of the appeal. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else involved as an appellant? You're the only appellant?
Mr. Spiegel is here to speak on our behalf as well.
Okay. Just give us your name and address, please.
David Spiegel, 22801 Ventura Boulevard, Suite 111, Woodland Hills, California. To follow up on what Mr. Brewer has said, we've been in this process a very long time. We had 33 units originally. We met with the community. We met with the council office. They thought that the plan at 33 was good. We cut that down to 30. We met with everybody again, and finally settled on a number of 26 after numerous meetings. Put in a lot of common area. We looked at the property surrounding us. We backed to the freeway. North of us is a mobile home park. South is commercial. Across the street is a brand new seniors facility that's R3. That zoning is a multiple in density compared to ours. In addition to that, part of what the City of Los Angeles, in our opinion, is looking for is to put higher density housings on main arteries or highways. Laurel Canyon clearly meets that objective as a major highway. Also ingress and egress from the freeway. We've met with Caltrans. That was another objection the community had. We've got a wall design with them. The other thing that was brought up numerous times was the drainage issues. We have a drainage plan. As a matter of fact, the drainage problems that have been there, Caltrans is accepting the water on the back half for discharge, which takes care of another problem at that site. has had, and we had community support. We still believe we have community support. We have a letter in our file going back to when we started this. Since then, some people may have changed and there may be some other opinions, but we've gone through the process for numerous years, and we think that this project is good for us. It's good for the city of Los Angeles. It'll be some of the most affordable housing also in the San Fernando Valley. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay. As appellants, we offer them the ability to speak to the issues of their appeal, but the following speakers will be limited to 2 minutes. So when you come to the microphone, give us your name and address. And please keep your eye on the clock. As you can tell by our acoustics, they're not the best. So please speak clearly and into the microphone. Mr. Daniel Skolnick from District 6, would you like to speak last and hear the rest of the speakers? Okay. So the following, please come to the microphone. We have Mary Benson, Carl, I hope I don't mispronounce your name, Connect, and then we'll have Mike O'Gara.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Mary Benson. I'm the chair of the Sun Valley Area Neighborhood Council Land Use Committee and the one responsible for the recommendation to support the project. That was in December of 2006. And that was before a tentative tract was filed. In fact, I don't think to this day a tentative tract is filed. We know nothing about the swimming pool, which was taken out in the last revision I saw. We know nothing about the dog run. And basically, my recommendation to support this was reversed in January of 2008 by a unanimous vote of the Neighborhood Council. They voted to support the RD5 zoning, which was arrived at by the zoning administrator. The community plan does not designate this for denser, more dense housing. Other areas were recommended. This area was not because of its irregular shape and poor accessibility. There is an error stated in the appeal that the state of California is responsible for mobile home park zoning. In fact, the zoning administrator changes the zone for one portion of the mobile home park zoning for this site in his RD5 recommendation, which we support. Furthermore, on November the 11th, this past week, the Sun Valley Area Neighborhood Council adopted a strategic plan for the environmental justice zone. You probably all know about the fires and the 400 people that lived in mobile homes that are now homeless. We feel that any jeopardy in Sun Valley to our mobile home park zoning by increasing the density that is out of conformance with something that is right next door to a mobile home park is a threat, and we do not support it. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Our next speaker, give us your name and address.
Honorable members of the council, my name is Carl Kunock. I live at 8148 Irvine Avenue, North Hollywood. I'm requesting that you reject 3B, the appeal by Mr. Brewer before you, and uphold 3A, the recommendations of the LA City Planning Commission and Zoning Administrator Frank Kwan, for the following reasons. 1, 26 to 30 homes situated on such a thin and very deep lot such as this with only a single exit can be a potential death trap in the case of an emergency. If fire emergency vehicles were needed, there would be an extreme maneuverability problem. I am not really satisfied with the Planning Commission's decision to not request 2 exits and entrances, and also a traffic signal that can be operated from an emergency vehicle. But I realize one can't expect everything. 2, the surface area covered by 26 to 30 buildings, driveways, and other non-permeable surfaces could not possibly handle the sheet water and runoff of even a ½ inch of rain, much less 3/4 inch storm. The runoff would flood the intersection of Laurel Canyon and Sheldon Street and therefore create an unavoidable, unnecessary hazard to schools, buses, and freeway traffic. It would also be a terrible waste of recoverable water, which we so desperately need. 3, I feel that the granting of the request for an RD21 change will also set a precedent for potential zone changes to the old but nicely maintained mobile home park next door, and like Sky Terrace, Valley Village, and others, may soon be converted to new condos and light commercial. This would be a horrible loss of affordable housing for the elderly and other low income. 484 affordable housing buildings were lost this past Saturday AM. Mr. Brewer builds nicely designed buildings and is evidenced by the Sun Valley office of LA.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, member of council.
Can you please conclude? Yes. Thank you, sir. Next speaker.
I want to make sure everybody understands I'm against the appeal and for the zoning administrator.
Okay.
My name is Mike O'Gara. I live at 9301 Cayuga Avenue in Sun Valley. I've lived there 38 years. This developer just said that no one from the mobile home park objected to his project. That's absolutely untrue. Last Friday, I brought a petition signed by 42 residents of the mobile home park, as well as 11 letters written by 9 residents to be entered into the file. I've added another letter today from someone who lives there. None of those people could come to this meeting today because most of them are working. Some are elderly and we're concerned about how far they have to walk from the parking lot to get here, how much did parking cost. All the people I spoke to are for the zoning administrator's findings. Houses and condos in Sun Valley are often purchased by extended families. The majority of our residents cannot afford to buy the American dream of their own home, so a married brother and sister or in-laws will buy a home together. That's what will happen here. You'll find that many of these dwellings will be purchased by 4 working adults with children. If you allow this developer to build this 30-condo development that the zoning administrator based his findings on, there's a high likelihood that the population of this complex will be more than 90 working adults, representing about 45 families. The number of children may be between 60 and 90. Think of all those additional cars and traffic. This complex has virtually no recreational space for children. It's squeezed in on a small lot, bordered on the back by Freeway 5 and on the side by the freeway off-ramp that Caltrans plans to widen. Mr. Brewer speaks about the swimming pool he put in the track plan. Sun Valley Neighborhood Council, in one of our early meetings, asked him to remove the tiny pool he had drawn in. Our concern was that with the large number of people who would be cramped into a very small pool, it would be a source of disagreements, to say the least, between neighbors. Sun Valley experiences several weeks of weather in July and August of every year in excess of 105 degrees. When we were here on October 14th, Ms. Goldberg read a proclamation that designed Echo Park as a great neighborhood. We, too, would aspire to someday be designated as a great neighborhood. You can help us by agreeing with the zoning administrator's findings.
Thank you, Mr. O'Gara.
And I will be filing a community impact statement from the Neighborhood Council tonight.
Thank you very much. Marianne Geyer, Barbara Monahan Burke, and then we'll have John Walsh. Please.
Good afternoon. My name is Marianne Geyer. I'm a stakeholder in the community. I've been involved in this project since the beginning. There has been nobody that I'm not aware of any community support that came from this project. I think there's a confusion here with what came out of the Land Use Committee. I am a realtor in the area for over 32 years. This piece of property has sat vacant because it's basically a bastard piece of property left over from the freeway where the off-ramp comes around. You hear them talk about the drainage problems and the sound walls. If you look at the site plan, you'll see there's a problem with this property. To place houses there would be an injustice, would truly be an injustice. This property, I've always thought as an urban planner that it was suitable for maybe public storage. The way it comes out where there's not going to be a lot of traffic coming out on Laurel Canyon because that's right where the people get off the freeway and you can't see. Now they've removed the building line, so it's even going to be worse. I don't support this project and I don't support the appeal. And I would ask, if anything, that this body supports the position of the staff's report in front of you today. Thank you.
Thank you. Barbara Monahan Burke, I'm sorry.
Good afternoon. I'm Studio City Neighborhood Council board member, but I'm speaking personally. I know Mr. O'Gara, who's a board member from Sun Valley, from working with him on the Neighborhood Council Alliance in the Valley. And therefore, having just realized the problems they have in Sun Valley to do with this, I wanted to speak especially, just to the particular point that going from 12, the people who are appealing are going from 12 condos to 30. I think it's pretty outrageous to think of doing that. And so that's 2.5 times the units. So I do support the neighborhood in opposing this and the planning department in not accepting the appeal. And I just hope you will agree with them. Thank you.
Thank you. John Walsh.
John Walsh, representing from Hollywood. Citywide, countywide, nationwide, earthwide coalition against overdevelopment. Go to endlessgrowth.com and see what they have in store for you on the entire planet. Let's talk about Sun Valley. I think we should call it Cloudy Valley because the sun is no longer shining on it. Generally speaking, birds fly, fish swim, and developers lie. They come in and say, we want 700 condos. They don't have the money to build 700 condos. We compromised on 50 condos. That's all the money they ever had. That's the only money they had. Please, please, ladies and gentlemen, we're actually asking the Guinness World Book of Records to put the San Fernando Valley 484 mobile home park holocaust as the worst residential holocaust in the history of the world. Within 30 minutes, never in the history of the world have buildings been leveled like that. And who do I blame it on? I blame it on every single politician. Because remember, that mobile home holocaust, the fire department said it couldn't happen. The land use said it couldn't happen. The mayor said it couldn't happen. Everybody said it couldn't happen. And you know what? Mother Nature gave you a hot foot. That was Mother Nature saying, the earth abides. If you build too much on our property, Mother Nature, will destroy it. And Mother Nature, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that you put those 500 homes and those people in harm's way. And that's what happened. It was utterly, totally destroyed. And if you continue to densify, Mother Nature will continue to destroy by Holocaust. Get off your knees and don't act like Monica Lewinsky. Stand up to the developers.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Walsh. Francisco Bernegas Jr. Francisco Bernegas Jr. Item 3. That's for 2? Okay. All right, we have 2 cards here, and they don't have a number in which they want to speak to. It's Esther Petschor and Perry Petschar. What item was that, number 2 or number 3? 2? Okay. Okay, so that brings us to Daniel Skolnick.
Good afternoon, council members. Daniel Skolnick, planning deputy for council member Tony Cardenas of the 6th District. Arguably, consensus is a hard thing to reach sometimes.
Can you speak a little bit louder into the microphone?
Sorry about that. We do have a brief discussion about the mobile home park. To my understanding, there is no effect to the mobile home park with this project. It is not part of the application, and there are no requests to affect the mobile home park. There is also not a tentative track map associated with this file as well, to my understanding. And lastly, the project which the council office is in favor of and which we work towards is of 26 units, not 30.
26 units?
26 units, correct.
So is that a condition of your findings, a condition of your approval?
Yes, that is.
Because in our report, it states 30.
30.
So we're at 26.
26.
Okay.
Correct. And that's what the applicant is requesting in the appeal, to my understanding as well.
All right.
And so those are the details that were worked out. We did have a letter of support from the neighborhood council, although we do see other actions today. But the council office is supportive of a 26-unit project.
So you want us on 3A to approve the general plan amendment, building line removal, receive and file the zone change, and approve the revised findings prepared by the planning staff. And on 3B to grant the appeal and approve the revised findings prepared by the planning staff?
Correct, council member.
Okay. Have a second on that? That'll be an action of this committee.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. That takes us to items 3A and 3B. Are we ready with item number 1? If not, we're going to move to item number 2. Is item number 1, are you guys ready? No. There's a card on each one. Okay, let's move to item number 2. We're going to have the staff come forward, item number 2. Can you get the staff report, please? Item number 2. It's okay to step up, guys. Roberto, I didn't let you do your job, did I?
Yes, Councilman. Item 2 is a report from the Planning Commission. It's a proposed ordinance relative to various zone changes for the Northeast LA Community Plan area. There's no individual development project being proposed, and I believe staff is present.
Okay. So my understanding, we will be hearing from the staff.
And also LAFD.
And the Los Angeles Fire Department. Okay. How are we doing?
Good, council members. Nick Marisich with the City Planning Department. I'm going to be joined by Gabriela Juarez momentarily, but if we want to begin. Nick Marisich from the City Planning Department, and I'm going to be joined momentarily by Gabriela Juarez. We're going to go through a presentation of some background on the case that's before you and give you an overview of some of the issues involved and the zone change ordinance that is before you for consideration. This is and I'm going to actually defer to Gabriela Juarez, who's going to come and join me right now.
Take a deep breath. We're okay.
Good afternoon, council members. This is a city-initiated zone change to add Q qualified conditions to the D and D development limitations to approximately 11,000 parcels in the Northeast Los Angeles Community Plan area to promote more sensitive hillside development that is consistent with the policies and objectives of the Northeast Los Angeles Community Plan. No project is proposed at this time. Staff recommends that committee approve and recommend the requested zone changes, adopt the findings, and approve and recommend that City Council adopt mitigated negative declaration number ENV-2008-1183-MND. The case background is that the Northeast Los Angeles Hillside zone change has been proposed as a response to the Northeast Los Angeles Hillside's Interim Control Ordinance, or ICO, by the Los Angeles City Council in December 2006. The Northeast Los Angeles Hillsides Work Program is the directive that resulted out of the adoption of the ICO. This proposal is also for the purposes of addressing some of the concerns heard that neglect has historically disadvantaged the east side of the city. One of the main motivating factors here is to help build a great Hillside neighborhood. The purpose of the Northeast Los Angeles Hillsides work program was to review and assess issues such as the minimization of grading and soil erosion, protection of ridgelines and landforms, protection of plant life and wildlife, appropriate scales of hillside development, and very importantly, adequate access for residents and emergency vehicles in the Northeast Los Angeles Hillside areas of Mount Olympus, Paradise Hill, Rose Hill, El Sereno, and Monterey Hills. For this project, our public outreach consisted of a first round of outreach with 10 small group meetings where 7 neighborhood councils, HPOZs, chambers of commerce, 7 local homeowners associations, over 36 local community organizations, and randomly selected residents were invited to participate. During the second round of outreach, we had 8 small group meetings where all the first round participants were invited back to participate, as well as any other interested parties referred to us since the first round. For the second round, a summary list of issues was compiled and provided for attendees. Alternative solutions were presented by staff based on research of the issues and input from the interdepartmental task force form for this work program, for which I will describe in further detail momentarily. Participants then asked questions and gave their input on preferences for alternative solutions. Additionally, reference handouts were prepared for the participants to see how other cities regulate hillside development. Very wide range and diverse viewpoints were heard during the second round, commenting on the solutions and thresholds established in the proposed ordinance. The solution proposed in this ordinance represents the Planning Department's effort to attain the goals and objectives set forth in the council motion, while also balancing all stakeholders' wide-ranging opinions of what the threshold should be. Additional outreach efforts were made by staff subsequent to the second round of outreach by attending local community venues and community festivals held by places such as Antigua Coffee and the El Sereno Community Gardens Dia de los Muertos festivals. It was during this point of the process that community members expressed that the boundaries for the permanent regulation should be expanded to the larger hillside areas. Since many community members expressed that the boundaries established in the ICO did not seem to make sense on how they were drawn, and areas abutting the ICO boundaries shared the same issues and concerns hillside development was creating, staff conducted a combination of slope, contour, and ridgeline analysis with fieldwork research to propose new boundaries that encompassed the true hillside areas consisting of slopes 15% or greater, and where the same issues and concerns that current hillside development regulations were negatively impacting the surrounding neighborhoods and environment as a whole. This research yielded the suggested boundaries that the second round participants rather unanimously agreed they preferred over the original boundaries in April and May of this year. There were a total of 3 public workshops and information sessions conducted, with all yielding a minimum of 100 participants at each, and included the participation of other city departments, such as Department of Transportation, Fire Department, and Building and Safety, available to answer questions. These workshops and information sessions created opportunities for staff to get comments and questions from the community so as to continually edit and research the regulations to further refine the proposal to meet the goals and objectives set forth. The Los Angeles chapter of the American Planning Association awarded the Northeast Los Angeles Hillsides Work Program with the Public Outreach Merit Award for 2008 for its creative and innovative approach to outreach, having conducted over 35 meetings with the public, fielding more than 900 phone calls over the course of the last 6 months, making handouts available in 5 languages in hard copy and available online on the City Department's website, and making staff available to attend additional informal meetings with the various neighborhood councils and their land use subcommittees up until and including last week, and having an additional information session all day last Saturday, staff feels that we have truly made a best effort to have an open process that not only welcomes public participation, but has made it accessible to the community. Shifting gears a bit, the goals of the Northeast Los Angeles Hillsides Work Program are to identify issues and opportunities in the Hillside communities, set objectives, and develop land use regulations that promote policies and objectives of the Northeast Los Angeles Community Plan for development in the Hillsides that are appropriate in scale, are minimally disruptive of the natural terrain, vegetation, water courses, and wildlife, ensure that future development improvements improve the identity and appearance of neighborhoods and communities through scale, height, bulk, and setbacks, building design and landscape parameters of the topography and geological stability in any proposal for development. That they also ensure the availability of adequate infrastructure and access to emergency services under all circumstances. And last but not least, that these regulations promote the protection of natural resources. As part of the research and analysis done for the work program, planning staff identified and invited other city departments to participate in the ad hoc Northeast Los Angeles Hillsides Interdepartmental Task Force. The participating departments included the Department of Building and Safety, the Los Angeles Fire Department, the Los Angeles Department of Transportation, the Los Angeles Department of Public Works, Bureau of Engineering, Department of Public Works, Bureau of Street Services, Division of Urban Forestry, the Bureau of Street Lighting, Bureau of Sanitation, in addition to other planning staff from the Environmental Unit, the Office of Zoning Administration, the Code Studies Unit, the Urban Design Studio, and the Baseline Mansionization Team. The Interdepartmental Task Force met approximately 7 times between the first and second round of outreach. The various departments suggested alternative solutions for issues expressed by the community, as well as issues they experience processing hillside development permits. A series of solutions were brainstormed to give planning staff more options for alternative solutions, ranging from short administrative solutions to long-range policy and council action resolutions. These solutions were compiled into an alternative solutions matrix along with other reference materials staff prepared for the task force, including summaries of other cities' hillside regulations that are much more restrictive. As a result of the suggestions and range of alternative solutions gathered from both the Interdepartmental Task Force, staff's research and analysis, and the community input solicited, the 2-phased approach is proposed. Based on the complexity of hillside development and the range of department and jurisdictions involved, it seemed clear that a standard one-size-fits-all solution would not work. We needed a solution that was multifaceted, a multifaceted approach that could establish lower thresholds for the immediate permanent regulations, and a second phase that would allow more research, dialogue, and interdepartmental coordination in order to have a forum to resolve these more complex issues on department-wide and interjurisdictional levels. We're going to have the fire chief come and present some of the fire recommendations.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Councilman Reyes, Councilman
Good afternoon, Fire Chief. I just want to take a moment to thank you and the fire department for the great work and the incredible amount of stress that the department has endured these past few days, and the great job and the fires we've been experiencing. So I just want to take a moment to applaud you and the fire department for their hard work.
Thank you. I'd like to thank you for recognizing the men and women of the fire department and the hard work, but it was really a team effort with the entire city family stepping to the plate and really doing what's right for our community.
Thank you, Chief.
My name is Assistant Chief Craig Fry. I'm the acting fire marshal for the city of Los Angeles. We have been involved in this project. We've been working with the different agencies on the task force. And I speak not only as the acting fire marshal, but also as a person who grew up in this area, knows this area very well, and have family members that still live in that area and have a great concern over that area. As well, I heard a lot of people speaking about the mobile home park that burned on Saturday morning. I was in the mobile home park. I was making rescues at that time, and that's one of the concerns, what makes this more important to me and brings it right home. We have been, fire department's been involved with this for a lot of reasons. Number one, the main reason it's the right thing to do. Fire department's concern deals with the density in that area. We're concerned with the construction types. In the fire that happened, the horrific fire that happened the other night that started in Sylmar, there was some issues that needed to be addressed a long time ago, prior to any of us even being born, on the type of construction that was allowed and addressed. So this is something we can do now. Vegetation management. As the fire marshal, I'm in charge of that. And I saw the impact of proper management where we were able to save lives and homes. And we saw some of the impact where it was not done properly. One of the things that we saw was access. I was put right in charge of evacuation at about 11 o'clock. It's something I would never want to do again, but it's the right thing to do. To move 15,000 people out of their house seconds before a fire comes down their street is something that I would not want to wish upon anybody. I'm going to tell you, we need to make it safer for our community, have proper ingress and egress for our people to get out of those areas. The fire hydrants. One of the things you're going to be hearing coming out, I'm going to be meeting with the mayor today. We're going to be meeting with different state, local, and federal officials on the water system in those areas. I'm going to tell you, as having been a fire captain in those areas, having worked in those areas extensively, this is something we really need to address, is those areas. I'm going to tell you, I work with one of the best fire departments and for the best people in the world. The city of Los Angeles has been forward-thinking. We have the most restrictive brush clearance program in place. On any of these days, one of the things that saved lives was our department recognizes those needs. We move people into the area. In this area, northeast area, we know that we have the grass fires. We have that. We will move companies when we can predict a red flag or a high hazard day. And also one of the programs that we've worked with both your offices on is a red flag no parking program. Very, very critical. Hydrants and access. Evacuation. I will come back and tell you that staff recommends the restriction of construction, and especially anybody that has been up there. I've been up there with you, councilman, and we looked at some of the districts when they build the homes on the red flag days, that the construction people that are in those areas, they'll bring in their vehicles. They don't want to park them down below the cement trucks. I'm going to tell you, our fire chief has the goal of getting on scene of any 911 call within 7 minutes. That's critical in saving a life. If they have to move vehicles and prevent fire trucks or ambulance from getting into there, we're talking about not just an inconvenience, but we're talking about a person's life. Poor water mains. I know that in parts of these areas that we're dealing with 4-inch water mains. Those are not very big. They've been in there since the 20s and even some prior to that. We carry larger hose on our fire trucks. That's really unacceptable for people in our community that we need to be there to protect and save. And really the limited fire hydrants that we have. Some of the roads, when they were developed, they're dirt roads. They're driveways. They're not roads and cannot accommodate that. The brush clearance program, what the brush clearance program does is it really is looking at monitoring what type of fuel we have in there and limiting the amount of fuel that we have so we don't see the catastrophic effects that we've been witnessing the last month and really not even the last week. One of the things that we saw, and I've heard people talk about the trailer park, is the fact that we need safety zones. If I can't get people out, what am I going to do with them? I have to put them in an area where they can be safe. We can bring fire trucks in, and they can not have to run down the street with fire right behind them. Those are things that I'm concerned with, and we've been working very diligently in this program on. So,
To address the vegetation issues.
Does that conclude the fire chief's presentation?
She had some notes for me, but I'll follow. I'm sorry, I don't follow notes well. I do get emotional about this because I have seen the effects and know the importance of it. What the proposition or conditions are for landscaping are 3 areas. Number 1, soil erosion. I'm going to tell you, that night, Chief Rueda, our emergency operations commander, one of his things he was already worried about, we're projecting rain in the next 3 weeks. Are we going to be dealing with mudslides? This is going to start addressing those issues in this area. We have to preserve the vegetation as part of the hillside characteristics. I don't want to see us come in and just clear the hillsides. I've lived in areas that have been that way, and there's something unique about living in the El Sereno area, the Highland Park area, that is special to see the grass come in during the winter, go green, then go brown as well. It's something that I've cherished growing up in that area, and I want to maintain that. And also, we have to mitigate that damage of fire. We all seen how fast it can spread, the damage it can cause, and that's really the important thing for us.
Chief, in the other parts of the city where there has been a concentration of resources to make sure that those hills are safe, are you familiar with people losing their property rights as we reach those goals?
The answer to that is no, I have not seen that. Their rights have been protected by council, by ordinance, and by the city. There will be an impact. But the impact is one that will make their lives better and make the lives of their neighbors better.
So as a person who has lived and experienced these tragedies, do you feel that with these improvements, that lives could be saved in case of a fire?
I don't only feel that, I know that for
you
a
know
fact.
that.
I know that for a fact, yes.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Continuing on to address the concerns regarding height, bulk, scale, and size, and to promote consistency with the already adopted baseline mancialization ordinance, the Q conditions will require that the design of new structures meet one of the 3 scenarios depicted here. With regard to retaining walls, in this example here, the structure in the forefront.
When you say forefront, point to it. I want to make sure everyone understands which one that is.
It's this one here.
Okay.
Is that visible? My pointer doesn't seem to be very strong today. It's here. The structure in the back is this is the example of what would be acceptable under the new ordinance. The structure in the background is
maybe one of your coworkers can get you a pointer that works.
They're working on it.
There's one. Here we go. It's okay. We got one that works.
There we go. So this is what's being proposed with the new ordinance. This is what's currently allowed under our Hillside regulations, with 2 10-foot retaining walls 3 foot apart, and this is 1 6-foot wall as being proposed as one option in the retaining wall. So to address the concern that retaining walls are too large and create out-of-scale development as modeled here, staff is proposing that the maximum total height of all freestanding retaining walls not exceed 12 feet with no individual wall measuring higher than 6 feet. Freestanding garden walls that are 36 inches in height or less would not be counted as a freestanding retaining wall for the purposes of this regulation. Additionally, each freestanding retaining wall shall not exceed 75 feet in linear length, nor extend the length of one lot. So,
but for a property owner, this change will not take away their ability to build on their land.
No.
The changes alters the way the structure will look, but it won't change or take away their property rights.
Yes, it will change the site design of how the property is built out.
But it won't take away their property rights.
No.
Okay.
Structures, with regard to ridgeline development, structures within 50 linear feet of the identified ridgelines as shown in the map here, which is labeled the Northeast Los Angeles Ridgelines map, they are limited to 1 story or 15 feet in height. With regard to grading shall be limited to a maximum of 500 cubic yards plus 5% of the total lot size up to a maximum of 1,000 cubic yards total. In addition to the height limitations in LAMC section 1221A17C, no building or structure shall exceed 30 feet in height from the adjacent finished grade, measured as the vertical distance from the adjacent finished grade of the site to an imaginary plane located above and parallel to the finished grade. For structures with roofs that have a slope less than 25%, which are essentially flat roofs, the maximum height is 26 feet above the adjacent finished grade.
So the goal achieved with this approach will allow for the structures as they are built to follow the contour of the hill.
Absolutely.
So we're going to avoid the type of view in which we've seen in other cities and other countries as well. We have stacks of boxes on top of stacks of boxes.
Right, it's going to reflect the current historic building of this particular hillside.
And so this achieves the goal of eliminating the possibility of boxes being stacked on boxes on the hill.
This is one portion to attaining that goal.
Okay.
Current hillside, these images reflect an example of what current citywide hillside regulations allow. The image on the left is the view from the adjacent street. The image on the right is the same house from the side view. These images have been photoshopped to give an idea of what the same structure would look like under the proposed delimitations for the parallel height measurement. Here, if the lot is large enough, the third story could be terraced down below and likely not lose any living space. So on the side view, it would be located here. So you would take this portion of the house and place it down here. The image on the right also depicts how the parallel height measurement distributes the weight of the structure in a more environmentally sensitive hillside development. I'm sorry. The measurement distributes the weight of structures in a more environmentally sensitive hillside development, creating more hillside sensitive development.
But it's for the simple reason that the building is not as high.
Because the weight is not placed on the pad here to push the dirt further down and slide potentially to the houses below.
So it's layered into the hill as opposed to stacking this big, massive structure on top of the lot.
Yes, the weight is distributed more evenly as opposed to putting the pressure on one point.
Okay, I'm just trying to use other words other than planning language so we can reinterpret what you're saying.
Yes.
So please bear with me.
It hugs the curve of the hillside.
Okay, thank you.
Why would we want to do that? Why would we want to not have that one point?
Again, if we put more pressure on one point, the dirt is then being pushed down. So erosion is higher probability and likelihood, and it could even potentially create a slide. Whether there's rain or not, it could be just the erosion itself creating the slide. You add global warming to that, and we don't know what could happen. We're also proposing a new floor area ratio calculation. Many community members expressed that one-size-fits-all numbers will not reflect the current neighborhood character of this area, and staff is proposing a sliding scale approach for new residential floor area calculations considering 3 factors: zone, lot size, and the slope of a lot through 6 slope intervals as opposed to an average slope of the entire lot.
Could you do your best to explain floor area ratio?
Floor area ratio is essentially your building envelope that's allowed under your current zone.
Okay. It's how much you can build.
How
correct?
much you can build.
Okay.
Staff is recommending 6 slope intervals. Area A, which is 0 to 15. Area B, which is 15 to 30%. Area C is 30 to 45% slope. Area D, 45 to 60% slope. Area E, 60 to 100% slope. And Area F, which is 100% slope and above. Something to note is that our topographical USGS 10-foot contour data shows that of the approximate 11,000 parcels under consideration for the new ordinance, there are only 15 lots with a portion of their lot in areas D, E, and F, which is this line here and above. So there's actually no evidence showing that there's any lots that are in this 100% and above slope entirely. There aren't any that exist.
So what's
that
that
are
number
100%.
again? What's that
less
number?
Less than 15 lots are in this slope area and above.
Less than 15 out of how many?
11,000.
11,000.
Right. So the number is actually decreasing because there's only one portion of your lot that would even fall in any of these slope categories and above. So it would only be one section of the calculation that would be affecting.
So we aren't taking away the opportunity of too many lots to have those tremendous views.
There would be none taken as a result of this calculation.
Okay.
We're also adding in this particular chart explains that the coefficients are allotted based on the type of zoning that we have. So it's a sliding scale in all directions for single family and residential estate as well as multifamily and above. And it decreases as your slope increases, which is promoting that the building primarily be located on the flatter side of the lot as opposed to the steeper side of your lot. And the floor area ratio calculations reflect that through the numbers decreasing inversely proportionally.
Okay.
And to note here, these numbers in red are the ones that coincide with the existing baseline mansionization. So we did our best efforts to overlap what's already been adopted and work with baseline mansionization as it moves forward into its second phase.
Okay.
The image here displays the 6 intervals of a sample R1 standard 5,000 square foot lot. And so the basic concept of the calculation is that the percentage of the lot in areas A, B, C, D, E, and F are added together to yield the subtotal of the residential floor area. That number is then added to 400 square feet for the garage allowance for the total maximum residential floor area for this particular lot.
So the livable space of each lot remains intact. What's changing is the shape and the form of the structures.
The building size is being reduced slightly compared to what is allowed now.
Okay.
And we are we're granting an additional 400 square feet for a 2-car garage as part of the infrastructure concerns and needs.
Okay.
This is a 360-degree view of a model of a 1,000 square foot minimum residential floor area allowance on this 2,000 square foot lot. We are proposing that when you do your calculation, it's possible that there are some lots that would result in having less than 1,000 square foot allowance for their building envelope. So we've guaranteed what would be a maximum in this situation, but is considered a minimum at the same time, where you would be guaranteed 1,000 square feet plus the 400 for the garage, so you would get a total of 1,400 square feet. And here you have a 2,000 square foot lot, which is an actual lot located in El Sereno, and it you get a very sizable house on that very small lot.
Okay.
As part of the directive from the ICO, staff were to solicit input and evaluate the Mount Washington Glassell Park specific plan. Staff found that comments received expressed that the specific plan is working well overall. Concerns regarding clarification of carports and garages have been addressed at the Area Planning Commission through precedent set by appeal decisions. Administrative and procedural adjustments have been made that address many logistical concerns expressed. Other concerns heard affect all hillside areas not germane to the Mount Washington Glassell Park specific plan area alone. And so thus, the overall recommendation is not to make any changes to the Mount Washington Glassell Park specific plan at this time. In conclusion, the Q conditions provide a framework for environmental mitigation of hillside lots in this area. This includes urban design, such as building terracing, setback provisions, as well as increasing landscaping requirements, managing ridgeline development, setting grading limits, and reducing freestanding retaining wall height limits that will mitigate potential impacts caused by future development. The delimitations provide a smaller building envelope that coincides with the citywide efforts to promote neighborhood character, scale, and identity, as well as reinforce the objective of more environmentally sensitive hillside development and reinforce fire and emergency access in the hillsides. The combination of the Q conditions and delimitations reinforce the fire and emergency access concerns, goals, and objectives for these particular hillsides. The proposed regulations intend to establish and reflect a threshold that was collaboratively defined by planning staff and community members working together as all of the parts of this ordinance were adjusted and refined through the course of the public process so that we can continue working towards building great neighborhoods, hillside communities, and promote the eastern side of the city with the same amount of dedication and enthusiasm exhibited throughout the city. Other neighborhoods, both in the city and in other cities with regulations of this nature, have flourished. The same is expected to happen here, with these being custom tailored to the unique historic character of the Northeast Los Angeles Northeast Los Angeles community. And while this does not completely address the issues and concerns raised with regard to hillside development to the fullest extent, it is a multifaceted first step towards resolving a larger, very complicated interjurisdictional challenge.
I do want to ask you, many of these communities started building on these hills before planning was even in place, am I correct?
Yes.
So in the 1890s and the 1900s, up until the 1940s, there were no planning rules in place that allowed certain structures to be built. Would that be accurate in these hills?
Yes.
So if 1940 comes around, we start implementing the planning discipline in the city, and so new rules and regulations started to evolve that impacted how these hills can continue to grow as a community. So I'm assuming then the challenge we have as a city is how do we address the goals of the fire chief in creating an environment in which we minimize the disasters and the catastrophes and begin to regulate in terms of improving the quality of life with these recommendations.
Right.
I want to thank you and the staff. I know this has been a very, very long road for all of us, including the community. I think it's important to work with facts. There's one question, I'm not sure if I'll ask it. I kept hearing, and I saw it in the press, and I saw it in the news and one of the Spanish stations, that we were taking away people's rights, people's property rights. Why is that assertion being made from your point of view?
It seems that there's a lot of misinformation, and of course, hillside development is a very technical specialized field, even for planners and people who do this on a regular basis. So it's easy to misconstrue what we are presenting. And without being able to sit down with each single person and go through it individually, it's difficult to get a very large message put across. So we're here, and we've continued to be available to be able to help people understand how this does not take people's property rights. We've been able to sit down with several different property owners who have brought us their personal property information and shown them the building envelope that would be buildable given their constraints and under the new ordinances. And they always come out with a very sizable building. There's always a building available. We guarantee that under the floor threshold of 1,000 square feet. And in addition to the commission change for R1 lots that are 5,000 square feet in size in the 1-to-1 slope for 1,100 square feet.
So if an individual feels that the property rights are being taken away, they have the option to speak to you or the staff, or if they have a plan to build on the property, they can go to the city family, whether building and safety or planning, and you can go over their details so that they can understand the property rights they indeed have.
Absolutely. We've always made ourselves available and will continue to do so.
Okay. I just want to put that on the record. Thank you. Councilmember, any questions or observations? Please, folks.
Are these regulations more stringent or relaxed than the ones we see at Glassell Park and Mount Washington through their specific plan?
Unfortunately, it's not a straight across the board comparison. It's kind of like apples and oranges. Mount Washington Glassell Park specific plan regulates a certain aspect of hillside development, and they address the same concerns, which is one of the things that in doing this project we've found throughout the city. All hillsides have the same issues and concerns. What makes the different hillside communities different from one another is how they prioritize those issues and concerns. And so we've taken the priority list from this area and have responded accordingly based on what they've decided are priorities.
So what has the Glassell Park, Mount Washington, what are their priorities and what are these priorities?
They have a larger vegetation and lot coverage concern, and for them, they feel that height isn't an issue the way that it is in this area of the city, because the historic nature and the existing building pattern seems to be in the 2-story and 1-story craftsman-style homes, which is not something that you find as frequently in the Mount Washington Glassell Park specific plan.
See no other questions. I applaud you on your work and the stamina, and the department for their presentation. Hold on tight. We're going to go through the public comment period, and then we might ask you to come back. Should any questions and or issues be brought up that need further research and or clarification? Okay, so thank you very much. Okay. Just a moment, folks. Councilmember, I think we have over 42 cards. We've still got 4 more items on the agenda.
You want to mention those that are continued?
Yeah, but still we have speaker cards and the continued items.
There are people that want to leave.
Okay. Well, let me do this. Before I go further, for the sake of those who are on the other items here, there have been requests to continue. I don't want to keep you here any further or any more than we need to, but items 4 will be continued to December 9th, and items 5A and B will be continued to February 24th. On 6 and 7, we will not have a report. I'm advising you of that, but we do have speaker cards on each one. And item number 1, the one we were waiting for, it's been asked that we continue that one for next week, for 1 week. So if you're here for items 4, 5, A and B, 6 and 7, as well as 1, They're all being continued, but I need to hold them on the desk because we do have a speaker card from Mr. Walsh on each one. So that being said, what is your pleasure? Will you do the 2 minutes for each card, or you want to go 1 minute? Okay. Well, given that we don't want to keep you here all night, we'll do 1 minute for each card. If you have a question, if you have a letter, if you have a comment, if you have it in writing, please give it to Barbara. Barbara, raise your hand. Barbara is our city clerk, and please give it to her to make sure that we get to your issues, to your concerns. But I want to make sure that each one of you who has signed a card get a chance to speak, given that you did make the trip here. It's not the easiest place to get to, so I appreciate your cooperation. So let's dive into this. Let's start off with Chris Bagarassi, and then followed by Andrea Chalixson. Please come on up.
My name is Chris. I'm a resident. I live in Lincoln Heights in the zone that will be affected by this ordinance. I own a home and several vacant lots, and I completely support it. I think it will do nothing but make the neighborhood better. And as far as I can tell, if you're against it and you live there, you're kind of against your own best interest, because it seems it will only improve the neighborhood in the long run, and it would probably be better for most residents. I just want to say I'm for it. Thank you.
Thank you. Andrea Chalixson. And please, let's speak into the microphone so we can really hear you.
Hi, I'm a homeowner, and
Can you give us your name and address, please?
Andrea Chalixson, 2341 Coral Street.
Welcome.
And I thought it was great. I'm really excited about it, and I actually wish it was more restrictive, because developers own like half of the properties on our street. But I think it's great for safety purposes, and we moved there because we like the hills, and I want to keep the hills there. And that's it. I think it's great.
Thank you. We have Dr. Paula Y. I apologize, I mispronounced your name. Bagasad? That's at 4286 Verdugo View Drive. Come on up. And I believe it's Molly Ann Squire. Please speak into the microphone.
Hi, it's Bagasao.
Bagasan.
Mm-hmm.
I apologize.
Hi. I'm opposed to this proposal, mainly because I have heard from individuals who live in the area, who are what I call immediate stakeholders. I know that a lot of strong voices have come from outside this area, and also some organizations that do support it restrict membership, namely the Mount Washington Homeowners Alliance, and just recently I learned that the Glassell Park Improvement Association, even though you qualify for everything in their nonprofit membership form, can deny you membership, period, or renewal. I think that this plan is incomplete, that there's no evidence to me yet that the city has put on the table any sufficient amount of information or commitment to really create a plan that makes a community or that improves the community. I'm reminded of a memorial service for the death of Marshal Siskin, whose grandparents at the turn of the century were Sophie and Morris Hurwitz.
I need you to conclude, ma'am.
Okay. They went through a rezoning of all of El Sereno that they owned as Jewish immigrants, and the purpose of the zoning was so that poor people had a place to live in Los Angeles. 100 years of no fire prevention, 100 years of no city finances or resources. Let's continue to talk about a plan that builds a community that is not anti-development.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Molly Ann Squire.
Thank you. Thank you for hearing me. In deference to the fire chief, we keep all of our brush under 3 inches, just like the city code. We've been clearing this land for over 65 years, my husband's family. His father was an immigrant. He's part Native American. He was born on this lot. He wants to die there. I'm living in a 1,000-square-foot house right now. I can't fit. If we have to build it 1,000 feet, when I've been spending my last few years designing my craftsman home to blend in with the neighborhood, I can't afford a bunch of special building and a special architect to landscape it and make it look like the Getty Villa. I can't afford to build there if I can't do it by current building zone. The 6 intervals my architect laughs at. I say this is like when the Egyptians ordered Jewish slaves to keep making bricks or they'd kill them. They said, we didn't take away your ability to make bricks.
Thank you very much. Jack Finn and Danielle Marlos.
Chairman Reyes, Councilman Huizar, I'm Jack Finn. I've lived in Montecito Heights for about 30 years. I represent the neighborhood on the Arroyo Seco Neighborhood Council and am a board member of the Montecito Heights Improvement Association. I'm speaking very much in support of the Hillside zoning ordinance. I think that if you were to step out here on the bridge between the two parts of City Hall and look north and see Flat Top and Montecito Heights and Paradise Hill and try to imagine what they will be like if we do not do some very constructive things to bring our development under control and to maintain our nature and to maintain the quality of life that we have by having views and view sheds and nature around us, we're all going to lose. A quick analogy. We start to listen to some nice music and there's an overwhelming amount of noise that drowns it out. I think that's partially what's been happening in this instance. The fact that the noise is louder than the music doesn't make the noise better than the music. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Daniel Marlos.
Daniel Marlos, 1702 Burnell Drive. I am a co-chair of the Greater Cypress Park Neighborhood Council, and I am the VP of Land Use for the Mount Washington Homeowners Alliance. Both organizations came out in full support of this planning Northeast Los Angeles Hillside Work Program. And I would also like to commend Gabriella and the planning staff on the rigorous outreach and their careful consideration of community input on this project. And I would like to respond to Ms. Bagasau, who mentioned the Mount Washington Homeowners Alliance restricting its membership. Our voting membership is restricted to people who live in Mount Washington. That's the only restriction. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Arthur Hansen and Carol Knapp. And then we'll have Noel Weiss. So Arthur Hansen, Carol Knapp, and then Noel Weiss.
Arthur Hansen, 5056 Glen Iris, LA. I have 3 buildable sites up there that are buildable underneath the current rules. Should these rules be instituted, they will be impractical to build on due to the fact that I will be unable to get financing to build such a small house with the additional restrictions because of the land slope. You can't build. It's impossible to do anything that's worthwhile, and it violates Article 1, Section 7 of the California Constitution because it does not equally disperse this so-called land restrictions. It also violates the contract under which the developers developed the land, which was to have the building restrictions as they are. This infringing on the initial contract, and this insufficient amount of time.
Thank you, sir. Carol Knapp, and then Noel Weiss.
My name is Carol Knapp. I live in Silver Lake in a hillside community. So let me get this straight. You guys are now against density bonuses. After we have a lawsuit, there was a lady in the front here, I guess she's gone, that started a lawsuit against this city for the imposition of these density bonuses that no one wanted except the council and developers. No one wanted density bonuses, yet here we are choked on the freeways and can't get from 5 miles, and now you're talking about you don't want density? This meeting is nothing more than one more trick by this council to fool the public into believing we still are governed by the rule of law. We are not. This is a Fifth Amendment taking under the 14th and 5th Amendment of the Constitution, a taking without any form of compensation, let alone just compensation. I have watched these people steal property all over this city, 34 redevelopment agencies, and they have these stupid meetings trying to fool the public into believing that it's good for them.
Thank you, ma'am.
They're liars and criminals.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much. Mr. Weiss.
Thank you, Mr. Reyes. You know, it's a shame that gets applause because, but in any event, no, I'm speaking here in opposition to this project. It seems as though you're talking about 11,000 lots potentially involved in this. No EIR. I don't think it's a good policy, council members, to basically enact something like this without an EIR. I really do think that just as a matter of policy, you really should have an EIR. Secondly, the concern for character and scale. I don't see that same concern being manifest on West Side projects, where basically developers are going in. We come here before the City Council and basically say it's against character and scale, and you guys just basically wave it through. I think there should be some consistency there. Third, the public policy concerns expressed by the fire department are good. They're valid. They should have been taken care of years ago. It should have nothing to do with this. If those, I mean, one has nothing to do with the other. That's basically a head fake. Four, there should be an economic analysis to inform the public. And five, the city attorney, Mr. Reyes, again, this is something the city attorney really is the attorney for the people. You shouldn't be given the legal advice. The city attorney is the attorney for the people, should be given the legal advice. And these
Thank you, Mr. Weiss. Thank you very much. Holly Schroeder, Anthony Manzano, and Ann Pierce.
Good afternoon, council members. Holly Schroeder, CEO for the Building Industry Association. I'd like to ask you to not pass the ordinance. We don't think staff has done the right analysis on what the real effect is, and that the cumulative effect of all of the conditions is going to make it very difficult to actually build something. If you do approve this, we ask that you put a delay in the effective date for the structures. We're putting home builders in a catch-22. They have subdivision approval, but they haven't pulled building permits because of the economic climate. They're going to get caught in the middle there, and they're either going to have to try to move through a building permit fast, which is not going to lead to quality, or they're going to have to redo their entire project. This would go into effect very rapidly, and it's not consideration of the economic climate. We ask that you consider that type of a delay. Thank you.
Thank you. That was great, under 1 minute. Anthony Manzano.
Good evening, council members. My name is Anthony Manzano. I represent the community of Rose Hills, and I'm on the LA 32 Neighborhood Council. I'd just like to ask what would be the process and I guess policy and procedure to request using the same data, same slides, same material, and have competent, legal, professional attorneys within the community, maybe engineers and architects, give you a presentation on how they feel about it, not just speak on public comment. What do we do about that? Can we do that? Maybe 5 minutes and give someone 5 minutes to do that?
There are within the process. There have been many meetings in this issue.
Okay. Well, I'd like to mention something about, I guess, character and out of scale. This beautiful building we're in here was established probably in the early 1920s. And if someone, maybe just a handful of people, decided at that time that this was out of character and out of scale, we would not be in this beautiful, ornate, and elaborate building that we're in at this time. Please allow the residents to build their properties, which they've worked hard for, and they will build something beautiful. Don't restrict them. Encourage them to use productive and encouraging and beautiful incentives. Don't restrict them.
I don't hear them stopping them from building.
Thank you. Thank you.
Ann Pierce, James Garner Compton, and Richard Tan.
Yes, my name is Annie Pierce. I live at 2414 Metzler Drive. I'm Paradise Hill. I'm here representing my granddaughter. And the opportunity and desire to build a beautiful home for her one day in the wonderful hillside of Paradise Hill. One of my main concerns is that none of the engineering and architectural professionalism from the community was invited to put together this ordinance. And it just didn't make sense to me because these people build and design for the hillside every year. Now, of the 15 lots that Gabriella said that were above in the high incline area, at least 15 of those are right along between Forest Park and Paradise Drive, and that number has to be incorrect.
Thank you, Ms. Pierce.
All right.
James Garner Compton, Richard Tam, and Johnny Carbajal. I'm not yielding any time. Either like to speak. So James Garner Compton, Richard Tam, and Johnny Carbajal.
My name is James Gardner Compton, known by the media as the keeper of the gate on Paradise and poster boy for private property rights in Los Angeles lately. Thank you. I really want to say I'm personally disappointed, Mr. Reyes. As you're well aware, I'm currently in a battle over property rights, and you seem to have taken a position of neglect that you do not value property rights nor support their constitutional importance. In my situation, I've asked for your help, proposed solutions, written over 15 letters, and pleaded for you to help.
So you're off topic. This is regarding this ordinance.
This is regarding personal property rights.
This is regarding this ordinance.
This is regarding this ordinance.
You have 16 seconds left.
I will get to that. And this ordinance has been put together by people who are not members of this community. It has been opposed in your first meeting by 500 people against, and only 3, 2 of whom were.
Thank you, sir, for your time.
Oh, yeah.
Richard Tam and Johnny Carbajal.
My name is Richard Tam. Address is 3116 Pueblo Avenue. I grew up here. This is my first time coming out to speak. This is really interesting. It seems like there's a lot of
Can you speak into the microphone, sir?
Oh, okay. Like I said, this is my first time, and I think a lot of people have to get more involved in voting. We have to be more vocal, and we have to encourage people to start to realize what's actually happening to them by their own government. I mean, you don't have to look far. Our economy is already a prime example. Please, don't rush me. I have 2 minutes. Thank you.
You have 19 seconds, sir.
And I am really against this ordinance. You guys, this has already happened in '79. Look what's happened. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Johnny Carbajal.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is John Carbajal. I live at 3520 Amethyst Street. I'm a resident of El Sereno. I'm a licensed general contractor and a civil engineer. I'm continuously, every time I read this, I'm continuously amazed of this proposal. Not what's written in black and white. I actually read what's written between the lines. What I extracted from this proposal is that owners in El Sereno and Lincoln Heights and parts of the east side will have the most stringent hillside requirements of all LA, all Los Angeles on the east side. I built and engineered many homes throughout Los Angeles, and let me tell you, I have never seen anything like this. These unforeseeable costs will not only destroy the chance for a family, their families, these kids' families right here, to build to buy into the American dream. It would destroy the chance of building their families' future economic position. During these tough times, this is totally the wrong thing to do.
Thank you, Mr. Carbajal. Alex Adams, Paula Tsukamoto, and Kelly Hazen. Alex Adams, Paula Tsukamoto, and Kelly Hazen.
My name is Paula Tsukamoto, and I live at 5144 La Calandria. I've been a resident of East LA all my life, and I am also a custom home designer. I have had to follow floor area ratios and height limits for various cities, and I believe this to be a very good thing, and I am in full support of it.
Thank you, ma'am. Kelly Hazen.
Good afternoon. My name's Kelly Hazen. I live at 5125 La Calandria Way in El Sereno, and I am a homeowner of 3 lots there in El Sereno. I wanted to say that standing in my backyard, you can watch on a daily basis the land being gouged by bulldozers, construction being done that's causing soil erosion, the monolithic structures that are not pretty, they're big. And the time is now for these regulations. I encourage you to support this proposal. And I also would offer you the idea that property rights and individuals' rights are extremely important, but not to the extent that they override what's best for the whole. And the role of government is to help us maintain that balance. So I encourage you to support this proposal because it does allow for development, but with an eye that supports the environment and the community as a whole. And I believe the fire chief said it best, it's the right thing to do. Thank you.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Alex Adams. I'm a teacher at Wilson High School. And what we have here is 97 students who volunteered on their own to come because they're in support of the issue. They don't want their community to be taken over. We looked at cases like Silver Lake, Echo Park. We examined gentrification, what could happen. Many of the students here rent. If gentrification was to happen, many couldn't afford to stay. And who's the building for? Is it really for their parents? Or is it for other folks, Anglos, to come? Or not just Anglos, people with money to come, move in the area, take over the area. I'm actually Mexican-American, miss. Racism only exists for those with power, such as yourself, who are white.
Please.
What we have here... So what we have here is, who is this building for? This building isn't for our community and for our people. Many of these kids are going to be out voting pretty soon. And also, they're also already aware of what their power has in their vote. And that's what they're doing today, and I'm just speaking on their behalf. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Adams. It's not often we get a teacher to bring their students to City Hall. I think it's a good experience, but I also know that in this democracy, we try to give everybody the courtesy to be heard and the courtesy to be understood. And that's how we get into a greater society if we offer each other that respect. So I thank you for that as well. Of the Wilson students, can you just raise your hand? I'd just like to thank you for being here. Congratulations. Thank you for being here. Okay, Jeff Chapman. And then we'll have Carmen Iniguez.
Honorable committee members, I'm Jeff Chapman, director of the Audubon Center at Debs Park in Montecito Heights. And on behalf of the Audubon Center at Debs Park, I'm here in support of the Northeast Los Angeles Hillside Zone Change Ordinance. We believe that this change will provide valuable natural resource protection while allowing property owners to develop their lots. We believe that the Northeast Los Angeles Hillside Zone Change Ordinance will ensure that hillside development in our community is safe, consistent with the rest of the community, and protects our watersheds, open space, and wildlife habitat. These are important assets that need to be protected. The Audubon Center at Debs Park calls upon the Planning and Land Use Management Committee and the full City Council to adopt this ordinance. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Carmen Iniguez.
Yes, hi. Good afternoon. I'm just here pretty much to oppose this whole zoning ordinance. I heard about this in 2008, May of 2008, and I understand the Dong and Pony show, Graviela Juarez has said, I've seen everything, and again, when I try to speak to her, she just tries to pretty much stay away from me, not speak to us. She has been nothing but short of just calling her pretty much a liar. Just so you know, the City Planning Commission, 400 people, 500 people at the commission meeting opposing. There were maybe 3 or 4 opposition. We have community in opposition through The Voice, which is a neighborhood newspaper, in opposition. I also have LA Neighborhood 32 Council in opposition of this ordinance. I also have Glassell Park in opposition of this motion. I'd like to submit this to the recording secretary for the record.
Thank you, Ms. Iniguez.
No, I'm not done yet. I still have my 8 seconds.
Yes, you do.
We oppose this. Oh, I'm sorry, and I have my neighbors that couldn't make it in today. We oppose this. We don't think this is right. Mr. Mayes, Mr. Weezer, just know we're your constituents. We're here, and we're not going away.
Thank you.
So please listen to us.
Thank you very much. Salvador Velasco and Clyde T. Williams. Salvador Velasco and Clyde T. Williams. And then we'll have Emiliano Ochoa.
Hi, my name is Salvador Velasco. I live on Chadwick Circle in El Sereno. I strongly oppose, I am strongly for the Hillside ordinance. I actually have a giant stucco box, on a very steep hillside being built right next to me. And it seems like, for a developer, it's free reign. The city allows them to do pretty much what they want. I feel completely powerless. I feel that the safety of my family and my property has been put at risk, not only structurally, but with all the fires that we see, it just seems that it makes sense that there has to be some kind of a balance between, allowing people to do whatever they want. And, there has to be laws and regulations. I'm not against development at all, but there has to be a balance. And this strikes maybe not the perfect balance for everyone, but,
Thank you, sir. Okay.
My name is Clyde T. Williams. I live at 4115 Barrett Road in El Sereno. I agree with the expansion of the ICO Hillside area to include my houses. My houses will be restricted to 15 feet. That's acceptable. However, I would like to have other people under the same requirements. The ordinance as it is proposed does not protect the ridgeline, does not, as the policy say, preserve the ridgeline. You can build a 15-foot house on the ridgeline itself. You can build a 30 to 36-foot house within 51 feet of the ridgeline. Therefore, although there's a lot of talk, you don't preserve the ridgeline with the ordinance as it is right now. By the way, just for the fire department, there's one clause that says planting understory of the building is allowed. That should not be.
Thank you, sir. Emiliano Ochoa and Connie Trang, and then Esther Pisjar.
Good afternoon. My name is Emiliano Ochoa. I live at 4400 Tourmaline Street. I'm within the ordinance. I'm an architect as well, and I've thoroughly studied this ordinance. I'm an architect. I live at 4400 Tourmaline Street, and this ordinance does not promote terraced housing. The combination of 36-foot height restriction and the parallel height restriction basically reduce the massing of the building, but does not allow terraced housing. So all the diagrams that were shown earlier are incorrect, and it boggles my mind that professionals, planners, would not see that. This has been submitted many times. They've actually agreed to it and conceded this point on their staff report, but don't make any corrections. The city infrastructure should be paid by the city, not individual single-family residents. This ordinance does not make any new codes that address life and safety, so these are superfluous. This is not about that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Connie Trang. Connie, are you here? Okay, Tony Butka. And then we have Esther Pischar, and then Douglas Jones.
Good afternoon. My name is Tony Butka. I'm the chair of the Glasell Park Neighborhood Council. We have filed a community impact statement in opposition to the proposed zone changes, which is on file. I'd like to concentrate basically on our concern, which has to do with scope of project. The original interim control ordinance, which is expiring, covered 1,998 parcels of land. The proposed expanded zone changes you are looking at cover 13,754 parcels of land by your own documents. There is no articulated reason for the change. Your own planning staff said at a number of workshops and meetings that the reason it went from less than 2,000 to almost 14,000. There was a meeting, and everybody at the meeting thought it would be cool to cover the whole area. Okay? I don't believe that. There is no articulated reason that would require this increase in scope. Limit it to the original IC scope, see if it works. If it works, fine, we'll talk about it. If it does not, don't do it.
Thank you. Esther Pischar and Douglas Jones. Then we'll have Hugo Pacheco.
Hi. My property's on Barrel Street, my 2811.
Can you load the microphone just a little bit so we can hear you better?
My property's on Barrel Street, also on Forest Park Drive, where we own 8 lots. My mother lot below me was 5. Okay, our lots are in that high range of the almost 90% slope. All along Radium, all those streets are straight up and down. So the reason that they gave that, there's only so many lots that are not going to be affected. Ours will all be affected. The first, on our lots right here, the first 3 lots are on the ridgeline. I can't even build if this proposal goes through. And we've owned this property for quite a few years, and I really resent this. I guess I can't talk too much more because I'm too upset.
Thank you, ma'am. Douglas Jones and then Hugo Pacheco.
My name is Douglas Jones. I grew up in the Montecito Heights area. My family has been there for over 60 years. I have seen the ridge lines go from grass to trees. It still looks beautiful. I'm against this proposal. My family and I still own 5 buildable lots. However, it needs a street to go in, and when you build a street, the size of the houses would be restricted to the point that the cost of the street would not be able to be developed. Consequently, the land would be useless. So it does affect people that do own. And lastly, if this was such a good plan, why is it not for the entire city instead of just East Los Angeles? That's what I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Hugo Pacheco.
My name is Hugo Pacheco, and under the Brown Act, I'm not going to give you my address. I'm very upset, especially with you, Councilman Reyes. You should have said something to that teacher. I went to Wilson. I graduated from the first New Wilson. I went to Cal State LA. I'm a Chicano Studies graduate. I'm very upset right now because it's turned into something very different here. Property rights are a bundle of rights. Every time you take one of those things away, you take the opportunity from people to have a home. These kids don't understand that. They're being manipulated. One day, they'll be in the same boat that we are. I got my home. I got my 4 daughters educated when people said move out of that community because it was no good. Nobody cared about this community. Now everybody wants to rip it off. Thank you.
Casey Kramer and Alana Yanes next. Oh.
Thank you. My name's Casey Kramer. I live at 3825 Latrobe Street. I speak in support of the proposed zone changes. Author Richard Rodriguez called LA the center of the American experiment, one of the top 6 cities in the world we help set global agendas. I'm proud of the work each of you has done to protect our open spaces and bays. You've let the nation know Los Angeles chooses to be a forerunner in the promotion of good design, green building, and therefore increased marketability. The shrill voices of those opposed to the changes is a metaphor for the shrillness, the effects our neighborhoods have suffered under their interests. Their slogan, they are taking away your dream home. Dream home. Hillsides cannibalized and scenic vistas compromised by boxy identical structures overpowering the natural harmony. Buyers leave unimpressed by their cheap construction and unarticulated design. I would offer that this does not describe a dream, but more of a nightmare.
Thank you very much. Ma'am.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Councilman Reyes, Councilman Huizar. I'm here representing Assemblymember Kevin De Leon. I'm just going to read his letter of support of the ordinance to the record. Dear Councilmember Reyes, as the representative of the 45th Assembly District, I'm writing to support of the proposed Northeast Los Angeles Hillside Zone Change Ordinance. After careful review, I believe that the ordinance's provisions will protect against poorly planned development while respecting the rights of property owners, investors, and business owners. The zone change provisions appear to be consistent with the intent of the Northeast Hillside Interim Control Ordinance, and as such will improve public safety by preventing excessive grading that causes soil erosion and landslides. The ordinance will also help improve emergency response time associated with poor access, traffic circulation, and parking difficulties. I urge the Planning and Land Use Management Committee and the full City Council to enact the Northeast Los Angeles Hillside Zone Change Ordinance. I believe this ordinance ensures that hillside development is well planned, safe, and compatible with existing neighborhoods in terms of size and scale. Additionally, I believe that the ordinance can serve to renew and protect natural resources, including the ridges and hillsides that characterize this community. History and negative experiences have demonstrated the regulatory deficiencies in the Northeast Hillsides, and this ordinance is a reasonable solution to further the public good and enhance quality of life in Los Angeles.
Thank you.
Thank you for your consideration. Assemblymember Kevin De Leon.
Thank you very much. Barbara Monahan Burke, Jose Aguilar, and Hugo Carrera.
Good afternoon, Barbara Monahan Burke, 4223 Wilkinson Avenue, Studio City. I'm on the board, but I'm speaking personally. For about 4 or 5 years now, I've been working with Hillside issues because half of Studio City is Hillside. I would like the people here who live in Councilman Huizar and Reyes' districts to know that Studio City would have loved to have been the first ones to have a hillside ordinance. That you're doing it first, but this will be across the city. There are a lot of places who want this, and for there to be a baseline, just like the mansionization baseline, but a baseline hillside. So I just want you to know that I do encourage you to adopt this. I am concerned to make sure the ridge lines are preserved when they are able to be preserved, and to I think this is the way to keep your natural aquifers so you won't have the same kind of landslides and all. But all the points that you can make, the best thing is it should keep the inherent community feeling, which is the best for the people. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Jose Aguilar and Hugo Carrera.
Yes, I'm in opposition because this city council has turned our city into a banana republic. You did not consult the Lincoln Heights Neighborhood Council before it went into recommendation to Plum. We were left out. As a matter of fact, we had some recommendations that we cannot even provide to you this day because we haven't voted our minutes in to provide it to you. But this was done after the fact, after the report was set in. So you violated the city charter. If there's any attorneys, you could also sue the city for violation of the city charter concerning the fact that Lincoln Heights Neighborhood Council was not given a presentation by planning department. That's number one. Number two, the city has complete disregard for people by using Play-Doh and Lego blocks to explain the controversies with topography type zoning, which is like amazing that you have this level of disrespect for the community. Also, nobody here understands what happens.
Mr. Aguilar, that's it. That's your amendment.
I want an explanation.
But you do have the ability to submit whatever recommendations or observations you have to the clerk or to the planning office before it gets fully enacted.
Fine. How about following the city charter? How's that?
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Follow the city
Hugo
charter.
Carrera. Hugo Carrera.
Garcia or Carrera? Because I'm Garcia. Maybe I wrote it down sloppily.
This is Hugo, I believe it's Carrera.
President of the Neighborhood Council?
President Alley 32 Neighborhood Council?
I wanted to ask if there was any way possible that I could speak for 2 minutes.
No,
okay.
It's 1 minute.
Again, my name is Hugo Garcia, a lifelong resident of the community of El Sereno and president of the Alley 32 Neighborhood Council. I'd like to also inform you that you received some information that we're opposed to the ordinance. We are not, and I just want to let you know that that was submitted. It's an error, and I'm not a liar. I'd like to thank the honorable council members Huizar and Reyes for convening this meeting and for allowing public comment. And I'd also like to express admiration for the efforts, particularly of the city planning and Gabriela Juarez, who have worked very hard to engage the community. Basically, it's been my experience that at these meetings, it has been made very clear where people stand in respect to the ordinance. It's easy to tell those who have financial interest in the ordinance and not going through, and for what? Boxy, oversized, overpriced structures with no land, no views, and no craftsmanship. This will only serve to further disturb the character of our neighborhoods and corrupt our precious open spaces. We have seen those interests impose themselves today and at various neighborhood councils, attempting to intimidate and lie to citizens of the communities about their points of view, using all manners of conspiracy and theory and deception against the planners. I'm just here to tell you that I have confidence in the students here.
Thank you.
And that I support the ordinance fully.
Thank you, sir. I know you guys love to clap, but the longer you clap, the longer we're here. So please, let's keep that in mind. Elsa Guevara and Joan Lux. Elsa Guevara and Joan Lux.
Good afternoon. My name is Elsa Guevara. I'm a proud student at Woodrow Wilson and a proud resident at El Sereno. I have a voice, and it says that we should keep the hills. They allow me to realize that we might be a working class community, but at least we have something to show. I'm sorry, but I don't know about you, but I love watching the natural structure of my community hills every time I walk out my door. Be realistic. What are we necessarily going to benefit out of it? Yes, pro-LA might, but I know I won't. If this ordinance is the best thing that might help the preservation, then I say yes on the ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
Good afternoon. My name is Joan Lux, and I am president of the Federation of Hillside and Canyon Association. We represent 36 various associations, and we are in support of this ordinance with one exception. We would appreciate and prefer that the square footage of the garage be included in the calculation. Let me give you an example. There was a lady that said that she had a house for 1,000 square feet and couldn't build anything bigger. In lieu of the fact that they are calculating it based on zoning, lot size, and slope, that would mean that the lot size is 2,000 feet and 50% of that is 1,000. The truth is the house is going to be 1,400 feet, including the garage. If you take 1,400 feet divided by 2,000, that's a 70% house to lot ratio. We just want to say that the Federation unanimously resolved that the Federation supports this ordinance to implement zoning standards including height restrictions, permanent qualified conditions, and development. And not only that, but it also protects the ridgeline within 50 feet.
Thank you, Ms. Lux.
And I thank you very much, and I appreciate your support on this issue.
Thank you very much. Juan Cortez, Perry Pitschar, and J.W. Kim.
Yeah, my name is Juan Cortez. I'm an owner on a piece of land on Kimball Street. I worked really hard to buy this piece of land, and I oppose the ordinance because, it'll affect me. And I know a lot of people are concerned about the vegetation and safety, and yeah, I do understand that. But, but if it's going to affect me financially, and it's going to affect other owners financially, there has to be something that's going to work for everyone. So I am for everyone to work together. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Perry Pitschar and then J.W. Kim.
Perry Pitschar. I've lived there all my life. And how come you didn't start in Mount Washington? Because they have more resources to fight this than the poorest hills in Los Angeles. And my 8 lots, I'm either on the ridge line or the steep area of the hill, and we just, I believe there's much more lots out of the 11,000 than just 9 or whatever she said there is. And we're not notified of anything. Everyone in the neighborhood, they don't know about it. You don't notify us. The workshop they had Saturday, we got a postcard about it the day before. Can they notify us more than 24 hours ahead of time? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir. J.W. Kim. Is Mr. J.W. Kim here? Okay, Francisco, I believe it's Bringas Jr. I apologize if I don't pronounce your name correctly.
I just purchased a lot in Happy Valley, which is on the borderline of Montecito Heights and Lincoln Heights. And I just have, I have mixed feelings about this ordinance, primarily because, the diagrams that were shown earlier regarding the ridge lines, I don't believe they're accurate. There's some ridge lines that encroach into my property line. And, my property line goes from the top of the hill to the bottom, so I have two means of access. And I also want to identify that you don't need a fire to break up a community. I mean, this can happen by eminent domain. So I question, what vested interest does the Santa Monica Mountains Conservatory have in our community?
Thank you. Frank Wada and Andrea Garcia. And then we'll have Laura Gutierrez.
Hello, my name is Frank Wada. I'm here representing the Lincoln Heights Neighborhood Council. We have been through a lot of committee meetings and deliberation and put forth a recommendation in support with modifications in respect to two issues. We would like to talk about the 6-foot retaining wall issue. Two of them, we would like to expand it to 3 with modifications if we have the third one with green wall type of technology. And we were trying to figure out that, I know that Gabriella has come to us and talked to us about the 36-foot height limit and the parallel 30 and 20, 26 and 30. We still like more clarification, but we'd like to recommend, the council would like to recommend the concept of terracing, no matter how we get to it. We just don't know. We're just trying to say that's a problem. We'd like to highlight that problem.
Okay.
We have a recommendation that we put forth. We actually asked the council office and planning that we have some. Okay.
No,
thank you.
Could you submit what
Yes,
the neighborhood council has in writing so we can have the staff review it? Yes. So that we are very clear that we are listening. Thank you, sir. Frank Wada. Then we have Andrea Garcia. Andrea Garcia. Laura Gutierrez.
Hello, my name is Andrea Garcia. I am just another resident from El Sereno, and I attend Wilson High School. I say yes to the ordinance. I say yes to the ordinance because it is not fair for Pro LA to take away the beauty of our ridgeline. As a resident of El Sereno, we should be able to decide what we want, not for the community, not for Pro LA. So I encourage you to say yes to the ordinance to save the natural beauty in our community. And just for the record, I was not manipulated to be here. I am here to say what I feel and what I want for our community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Laura Gutierrez, and I'm the president of the Glassell Park Improvement Association.
Into the microphone, please.
I am the president of the Glassell Park Improvement Association, and I am here to state that our board voted to support this ordinance. We want to applaud the planning department, especially Gabriela Juarez, and both you, Councilmember Reyes and Huizar, for protecting the other hillsides in the Northeast community. Even though Glassell Park is not in that plan, we want to support our neighboring communities to make sure that there is a good, effective plan for hillside development and for the protection of the hillsides. So, in closing, we are in full support of this ordinance.
Thank you very much. Martha Rilby and Gabriela Rangel. Martha Rilby, Gabriela Rangel, and then Edward Lopez.
My name is Martha Riley. I am a secretary of the Lincoln Heights Neighborhood Council and co-chair of the Planning Committee. Now, we had concerns, like a lot of people, about property rights being taken away, and We wanted to see how the numbers would look, and so we went out and we took 7 parcels that seemed to represent a range to see how much could be built on those properties. And we came to or at least I came to the conclusion, I am speaking for myself right now because we made a recommendation that was given to you, but I concluded that it is not unduly restrictive, and that when you have the cumulative effect of ridgelines and things like that, they should be restricted. I do not want to see a lot of ridgeline development, and therefore, the more I look at it, the more I think that is well crafted.
Thank you very much. Gabriela Rangel, Edward Lopez, then John Welsh. Gabriela Rangel, Edward Lopez, and John Welsh.
Good afternoon. I attend Wilson High School, and I say that the community should stay how it is and not build houses on the hills, because it's not going to benefit the community in any way. And the houses that are going to be built are going to be highly built, so then therefore the only people who are going to be able to afford it are going to be the rich people who have money, and then therefore the people in the community are going to be affected by it because they're not going to be able to afford their houses because the stocks are going to be higher for them to pay. And why would you, like the fires that have been now, they have been on hills, so why would you build more houses on hills where all the fires that have been right now are on hills? And also, like, the crisis that we are in right now, so we have crisis that, we're in a crisis like, we need a lot of things, so instead of trying to build more houses, make that money go to the community, and then therefore the community will be better and everyone would be like happier, instead of just building houses and everything that it's not going to benefit anyone in the community.
Thank you, Gabriela. Thank you. Edward Lopez.
Hello, my name is Edward Lopez. I attend Woodrow Wilson High School, and as deeply as I agree with my fellow students, I believe that this is an invasion of property rights and natural resources we use to escape from human, snobby, and unjust and unethical attitudes, such as lies that we hear often from people. Overall, don't take away our natural resources and our rights. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
John Walsh from Hollywood and Vine. I graduated high school in 1961. Ladies and gentlemen, overdevelopment sucks. Gentrification sucks. Why? Now, I want to admit, it isn't all, wealthy West Siders are not all white. They're only 97.8% white. Let's be fair to them. Ladies and gentlemen, what we're talking about here is endless growth. We have a replacement motion. This is a motion that everyone should like. And this is the motion to replace what you have on the table: a 5-year citywide moratorium on all new construction of condominiums. Look, did you see that ugly-ass building they want in your neighborhood on the east side? Do you think any of those wealthy whites would allow that piece of crap to be built in their neighborhood? It looked like a bunker. It looked like something from the Third Reich. And remember, the enemies, none of the enemies are in this room. The enemies are the wealthy whites who are trying to get you to fight amongst one another. To hell with the white.
Okay, that was our last card. Oh, one more. Okay, right under the wire. This will close the hearing. This will be the last card. That's yours. Come on up. Liz Heron. You are the very last one, Ms. Heron. Okay.
Hello, my name is Liz Heron. I live in Mount Washington. I'm an architect. I designed houses for 25 years in the hills. There are aspects of this ordinance that I like. There are many elements of this ordinance I think are extremely unworkable. I think that some of the items regarding sending landscape plans over to urban forestry is completely unworkable because the Urban Forestry Division has no staff for the existing ordinance. I think that the ridgeline need to be protected. I agree. I think that this particular proposal is I think that we should look at how to measure height on ridge lines. And I think that the city should look at how they measure height citywide, because the way the building department defines height defines it in a way that encourages boxy architecture. I think parallel slope is good, but I think you need to do one or the other. I think your proposal is a good one, 26 feet and 30 feet with sloping roofs. I would like to suggest this. I think that there's many things that need to be looked at a little more closely on this ordinance.
Can you submit your observations in writing?
I would suggest that
Ms. Herron.
we spend a little more time looking at the ordinance
Okay.
and go back to the
Thank you very
ICO
much.
and extend that. Thank you.
Can you submit that in writing? That'd be great.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Okay, that closes the public hearing. Councilor, any observations or questions from our staff or for our staff, I should say?
Yes, for our staff. It was mentioned that this is going to be some of the most stringent hillside regulations.
Can the staff come to the microphone, please?
One of the speakers mentioned that this is going to be one of the most stringent hillside regulations in the city. Number one, is that true? And second, do we have other similar hillside ordinances anywhere else in the city?
Charlie Roush, Planning Department staff. Currently, there are 3 specific plans which regulate hillside development: the Mount Washington specific plan, the Mulholland Corridor specific plan, the Porter Ranch specific plan in Porter Ranch, and also, the name escapes me, but a small one out in Woodland Hills. Oh, and the Verdugo, yeah, there's a whole bunch. The Verdugo Mountains, San Gabriel Mountains specific plan, and the Holly Woodland specific plan. These all regulate hillside development. They do it in different ways. Some are design controls. Some, such as Mount Washington, have the specific floor area ratio restrictions on them. This is the first one that has been done by Q and D limitations. As we say in the planning business, we have a toolbox. This is one of our tools in the toolbox, is using D and Q limitations. This is the first one that I know of that is specifically and is of this size, regulating hillside development, and it's fairly restrictive, but there's something we have to understand. Currently in the hillside areas of the city, the floor area ratio for single-family homes is a 3-to-1. With the recent mansionization ordinance, which was recently passed, on the flatlands it's 0.5-to-1. So
currently on hillsides, it's FAR is 3-to-1. On the flatlands, it's 5-to-1.
0.5-to-1.
0.51. And this will do what?
This will restrict in this particular area to the FARs that you see before you, which are basically done on a sliding scale depending upon the slope of the property. The unit which worked on the flatline mansionization ordinance is also has on a work program doing similar ordinance for the hillside areas. This would be a citywide ordinance. This may or may not be more restrictive than that ordinance. If it's more restrictive, then the requirements of this ordinance would hold over anything done on the hillside.
So overall, these additional restrictions are fairly reasonable. Would you characterize
We
it
would
that
say
way?
so.
You would say
they
so.
are in line with the Mount Washington specific plan.
Yes. Well, thank you for that, because I simply wanted to state that I fully support the ordinance. When I first heard of the ICO and the intent of the ICO a few years ago when I first got in office, I thought it was a good thing. My only concern at the time was to make sure that we actually saw the details, that it wasn't overly restrictive, that it was reasonable, and I think we've gone to this point, and it is very reasonable. I want to thank the planning department for the outreach you have done. Every time I hear about a meeting, there was one going on all the time in all sections of where this ordinance will take place. I think you guys did a tremendous job under some very difficult circumstances. I am quite appalled at the type of misinformation that was put out there. When I would get a call from a Spanish language television station telling me that apparently we're going to take people's property, and that's what some proponents are saying. That's not the type of dialogue and discussion that would get us to a better community. Whether you agree or disagree with something, maybe people would listen better and have more time to listen instead of putting misinformation out there. So I fully support this. I think, like someone else said earlier, this is the right thing to do because it's for the common good. Yes, some people will not be able to as big of a house as they would like to do. Some people would not like to would now be able to expand their house as much as they would like to. But to get consistency and character throughout the hillsides, to protect people in terms of safety, not only allowing public vehicles to get up into areas in emergencies when it's not that dense, to protect people from erosion and slides. I don't want to sit here as a council member 5 years from now, 10 years from now, when we continue to build out of character, continue to build these ugly boxes on our hills and say, I could have done something about it. Even less, I don't want to sit here to be able to say I could have protected someone from getting hurt because we didn't put the proper regulations in place. I think this is the right thing to do. All of us give a little for the common good, and this is one of those examples where we're doing that through regulations. This is the right thing to do for the Northeast community. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you, Chief. Thank you, Councilman Huizar. I will second and amplify what you're saying. And growing up in Cypress Park and Lincoln Heights and understanding what a relief it is to have those historic and precious hills evolve in a way in which we do not take away property rights, but we ensure that there is a watershed that will preserve the needs of this city for decades to come is very, very crucial. How we look at our ecological systems, our ecosystems for our grandkids begins now. Understanding that the pressures that are being built up by the densities that are already here. In Lincoln Heights, we are already at 25,000 people per square mile. We're already there. In parts of Cypress Park, we're at 20,000 people per square mile. The city average is 8,000. So when we look at relief, it's very real at many different levels. When I look at what the fire department goes through in the city family during these fires, I have neighbors who express to me how homes have fallen because of poor construction, poor design. I've had to invest public work dollars for the type of walls that were built up in Montecito Heights so that we can preserve property values, preserve the type of safety systems that speaks to the preservation of life and to enhance the kind of ecological systems that will be with us for many years to come. I have a lot of confidence that each individual who feels that the property rights are taken away, that if they come to speak to the staff, whether in planning or building and safety, we will do everything in our power to make sure you reach your goals within the regulations that this ordinance proposes. We are not in a place to take away anyone's property rights. It's a shame. It's a shame for me to hear from seniors who are in fear because of the lies and the misinformation that are out there, and where people are taking advantage of those who do not understand the way the system works, and that is a shame. So I am going to support this action. And what we'll be doing is there are some modifications to the clerk that we'll be submitting. A definition of retaining walls will be clarified. That's something the staff will work with.
I believe there's just one word that we wanted to clarify to further make the point that it's freestanding retaining walls only, not foundation retaining walls.
Okay, and then we have we need to ensure that gradual height with gradual slope lots right after the 50-foot buffer from ridge lines.
A few of the speakers today made a point that beyond the 50-foot buffer, it's possible on gentle sloping ridge lines that the building structure would protrude upwards as opposed to down and step down with the building, with the slope of the hillside. So staff doesn't feel that changing that amendment to address that would deteriorate the intent of the regulations.
So we will make those changes before we see this in council.
Yes.
Okay. So with these recommended changes, we will vote and support of moving this motion forward. And that'll be the action of this committee. And I want to thank the planning. Yes.
One other point with regard to clarification on the ridge lines, to address the concerns that were heard regarding the exact precision of the ridgeline map, we would also feel that it would be fair to have, as part of the surveyor information that is already being required to be submitted as part of the application, to have the ridgeline confirmed by the licensed surveyor as part of that submission, and that language can be added as part of this amendment as well.
Okay. I'm fine with that, yes.
Thank you. And if you could please, before this comes to council, also respond to some of the issues raised by the Lincoln Heights Neighborhood Council. I think they had some issues they raised in their letter. If you could look at that and provide us with a response to that, please.
I think that we've had two issues that they raised, one with regard to the retaining wall, a third retaining wall, and some height clarification. Regarding the third retaining wall, under the tool of a Q and a D, we can only make the regulations more restrictive than what is currently part of the code. And under the current code, a maximum of 2 10-foot walls or 1 20-foot wall is allowed. 12-foot wall. So a third wall wouldn't be allowed under current regulations, thereby making this tool not the appropriate way to add a third wall. Again, we do encourage and we are excluding any walls that are 36 inches or less in height, and we are also requiring that existing walls or proposed walls all be appropriately landscaped per the information, the language in the proposal today.
Okay, so given these recommended changes that we'll see before council, this committee approves the report, and want to thank you for your hard work. Thank the planning department for their stick-to-itiveness and the accessibility that we've had throughout this process. So again, thank you very much and congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you.
And just maybe the Wilson High students can come back for other issues. There's a lot to learn here. Take care. All right. Good luck. Okay, Roberto, next item.
Public comment, council.
Public comment. Anybody here for public comment? Come on up for public comment.
Hold on, let me get my notes. Mr. Weiss should have been here, Mr. Reyes. Important, hold on.
Yeah, I do.
Sergeant, help them out. Help them get out.
We have a card.
No, they're hanging out.
No, they represent the people. No. You know what? That's going to be the campaign issue. That's going to be the issue. That's the issue. That's going to be the issue in the campaign, Jerry. It's going to be a great debate. It's going to be a great debate. Looking forward to it. He should have been here, though. He should have been here.
They're all John Walsh.
Okay. Oh, should we? I'll wait.
Go ahead.
You want me to go? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Reyes. My name is Noel Weiss. My public comment is as follows on a couple of matters. One, zoning administrator interpretations. These apparently are not being written down. They used to be written down by Mr. Genovese when he was the zoning administrator. They're not being written down now. I don't think that's a good policy. I think that that's kind of harmful for the planning department and the people in the planning department, the people that work with the planning department, whether they're for the developers or whatever side they're on. That's it? All right, in any event, that's something that I basically wanted to bring to your attention. Secondly, what we're talking about here, you had a debate today about the foreclosure problem. Multifamily residences being taken back by the banks. This is an opportunity for TOPA, Tenant Opportunity to Purchase Act. These tenants are in a position probably now better than ever. This is basically making lemonade out of lemons. You could be in a position where these tenants could get into to end up buying these buildings from the bank, getting the adequate financing. We can end up converting, taking a bad situation and making it into a good situation by turning tenants into homeowners as opposed to putting them out on the street. So,
hold on, Mr. Weiss. Barbara, did we give him 2 minutes or 1 minute?
That was only 1 minute, Barbara.
Yeah, for the public
You got
comment.
1 more minute to go.
Thank you, Barbara. Okay, thank you, Mr. Reyes. I appreciate it. So I basically wanted to bring it because we really do need to, and from the city attorney's standpoint on that specific issue, I think the city attorney should be contacting the lenders in writing and releasing that letter to the public and saying, you know what, lenders, we have laws in Los Angeles. You may be from overseas, you may be from back east. We want you to respect our people. We want you to respect the laws of the city of LA and not have our people basically out in the street, and the city attorney is going to be watching. That needs to get done yesterday, since this crisis has basically been going on for a long period of time. The issue, the planning department, I've been trying to work with Michael LaGrande to finish up, close the circle on conversions, having standard conditions in track map conditions that protect the tenants in conversion situations. Now, we don't have that yet, and Michael LaGrande is stalling me, and you need to have her down here, Mr. Reyes, to basically listen to this, because it's really important. People in conversions when they're happening, are getting reamed, okay? And we need to stop it by having, I'll finish the sentence, we need to stop it by having the track map conditions provide that no work on the common areas start until.
Thank you, Mr. Walsh.
Huh?
Thank you, Mr. Weiss.
Thank you, Mr. Reyes. Thank you, Mr. Weezer, for listening.
Okay, Mr.
Thank
Walsh.
you, Mr. Weiss. Wish you were here.
I won't take the 2 minutes. You did an excellent job, Mr. Reyes, today.
Thank you.
Everyone left happy. Everyone got to speak. This is a very bizarre, muddled issue. Only thing we can all agree on is that the East Side is the guinea pig. It's not the West Side. It's not my neighborhood. It's not the Hollywood Hills that's going to have this. And believe me, when the fire comes in the Hollywood Hills, you'll see a real Holocaust, much worse than over here. I'd just like to point out that Measure R is being stolen. We have gone to the Secretary of State, Deborah Bowen. She's opened an investigation on the vote counting on challenge ballots. The ballots were sent out 10 days before the Governor Schwarzenegger signed the enabling legislation. They were sent out with Measure R already printed on it. We have a lawyer who's handling it. Anybody who's listening to us on council phone, if you want to call Deborah Bowen and open your own investigation, my investigation is number 2268 at Secretary of State, 916-657-5448, 916-657-5448. Thank you for everything. Goodbye.
Thank you, Mr. Walsh. Okay, anybody else here for public comments? Sir?
Yeah, I just had a quick comment. What is your timeline for getting this ordinance passed?
I believe it comes to council.
We haven't scheduled it yet because it has to go to the planning department first.
Okay, so
that was already on the agenda. This is public comment time. Sorry, cannot talk about this without everybody who was interested in this item being in the room. Sorry. You can ask staff apart.
I'll answer you off mic.
Apart from the hearing.
Okay, anybody else for public comment? Come on. Okay, but not on this agenda item, correct?
Not on this?
We can't speak to...
The one that we just had?
Right. This has to be a public comment on anything else but what was on the agenda.
Oh, okay. All right, never mind.
Okay, Ms. Herron. All right. Anyone else? Seeing none, this meeting is adjourned.